At one point or another, we've all collected Pokemon cards, but did you know some of these nostalgic masterpieces were actually printed incorrectly? Spanning from the first set of Pokemon cards to the latest expansions, Pokemon has made some mistakes along the way, ranging from a subtle misspelling to some very obvious manufacturing defects. And while I was creating the video for the top 10 rarest and most expensive Pokemon cards of all time, I stumbled upon some pretty obscure Pokemon cards, which led to the creation of today's feature film, the top 10 most bizarre Pokemon error cards of all time. At least until Pokemon messes up some more, which I'm totally okay with. Number 10, Rocket's Minefield Gym. So the card reads, when a player puts a basic Pokemon onto his or her bench from his or her hand, he or she flips a coin. If tails, put damage counters on that Pokemon.
Excuse me, miss, how many damage counters? I have no idea.
So the original card was supposed to read, put 2 damage counters onto that Pokemon, and they did fix this in later print runs, but the damage has been done. So this card is definitely an awkward time, but we're looking for the weirdest misprints that have ever graced our presence. So coming in at number 9 is the Dragonite Color Test Strip Miscut. Now I'm sure you've seen the generic miscut that's maybe just a little bit off center, maybe there's more yellow on one side than the other, or maybe even if it's really extreme you get another Pokemon onto the same card. But never have I ever, until today, seen a miscut that also included the color strip border of the sheet that it came off of. But I find this miscut so unique because instead of having another Pokemon or a little extra of the border, it has something that was never meant to be seen on a card at all. Also, this Lillipup card is even more perplexing, and I was unable to find any more information on this card specifically, so I'm not sure if it's legitimate because it looks like the lines don't look straight on it, so I'm wondering if somebody did alter this one on their own. But if it was done by a cutting machine, then I have no idea how that happened. Coming in at number 8, this Ninetales with the crappiest moveset of all time. So this is the Ninetales from base set, and the error portion of this comes from the move Fire Blast, which reads, discard 1 fire energy card attached to Ninetales in order to use this attack. And that's it. That's all it does. Yep, congratulations, you are now more useless than a Magikarp. Now it's supposed to say that it does 80 damage, and this was fixed in later versions of this card, but this one made the list primarily because, like the Rocket's Minefield Gym, it completely alters the meaning of this card, and in this case renders it completely unusable. There, Ninetales, it's okay, because at least you didn't show up to a party uninvited like number 7, the Raichu pre-release promo. Now this one actually made our list of the top 10 rarest Pokemon cards of all time because it actually sold online for over $10,000. Now, the original Pokemon trading card game base set did not have a pre-release.
So how in the world did Raichu get the special pre-release stamp?
Well, these Raichus were actually stamped on accident as they were producing the Clefable ones for Jungle. And instead of just pitching these error cards, Wizards of the Coast actually just gave them to some of their employees. And what makes this story even more noteworthy is that we didn't know that these cards existed until 2006. Like, no one at Wizards of the Coast spilled the beans about these until like 7 or 8 years later. And like I mentioned, this is a very, very rare card, and there's estimated to only be about 8 to 10 of them that actually exist. So this card makes the list because 1, to my knowledge, this is the only time a pre-release promo has accidentally been stamped on behalf of another, and 2, because how are you gonna make a mistake and sell it for 10 grand on eBay? Alright, things are getting even more perplexing with our number 6, Lantern with that pokebody. Alright, in my defense, Lantern is looking pretty good in this card. He looks like a nice little underwater avocado with a light. But this Lantern is kind of weird because it has a pokebody ability of nothing. Why is that there? Nobody knows. But what ended up happening with this one is specifically the reverse lanterns from Aquapolis were printed with the logo for Pokebody, but didn't actually have a Pokebody ability. They were never meant to, but for some reason the reverses ended up having that in their layout. But you do you, Lantern, you strut that Pokebody. Now we're going from shaking what your mama gave you to Danny, please don't make any Hitler jokes. Coming in at number 5, we have Koga's ninja trick. Now you guys may have seen this card before, and it actually wasn't necessarily a misprint, like they totally meant to print this card. It just got so much backlash that they ended up changing it for the English variation. So obviously what the deal was is people thought that the symbol in the background of this card just a little too closely resembled a swastika, and they were convinced that Koga was a Nazi. Now this symbol is actually called a manji, and in Eastern culture it actually has no connection with World War II whatsoever. And this essentially reverse swastika, also known as an emote manji, is actually a symbol for love and mercy. In fact, in certain Eastern countries, the symbol is actually used to indicate Buddhist temples on maps. Besides, there's no way that Pokemon could actually be supporting Nazism, right? Right? Okay, so coming in at number 4 is the 4 position only cards. Now this is actually a series of cards, it's not just one, but these cards were printed when Pokemon was testing out the production for the Expedition base set. So what they did is they basically printed a bunch of these cards with 4 position only written on it to indicate that this was not the official print run for this set. And they packaged them up inside of legendary collection packs. Now this was really just for quality control, and they were planning on throwing out these cards after they did the test run, but somehow these packs ended up being circulated into the public, not necessarily officially by Pokemon, but by one of the Wizards of the Coast employees. Should've never gave him that Raichu card. And collectors were swarming to these Pokemon cards. Now when they first came out, companies like PSA and Beckett would grade these cards, but later it was ruled that they were not official, and so you can no longer get them graded. So that means if you have a graded version of one of these, you're doing good, my friend. You're doing good. Speaking of positioning Pokemon cards, coming in at number 3 is the Pokemon first movie promo misprints. So this one is very, very obvious. It would appear as though these Pokemon cards went through the stamping machine upside down when they were getting their first movie promo stamp. I find this hilarious because, it was a simple mistake. The sheet was put in there backwards. But, presumably there's an entire sheet of Pokemon cards with the upside down stamp on them. Placement's key, kids. Placement's key. So these cards better be on their way to Bel Air because they just got flipped turned upside down. This stamp makes an appearance on all 4 of these promo cards, including Mewtwo, Pikachu, Dragonite, and Electabuzz. Making the list at number 2 is the Growlithe Magic the Gathering error. So this is one of the most legendary Pokemon flub-ups of all time. Wizards of the Coast has had their fair share of awkward misprints, but never across multiple fandoms in one go. This German base set Growlithe card was accidentally printed on Magic the Gathering cardstock, giving it the appearance of a Pokemon card on the front, but a Magic the Gathering card on the back. A very few number of these cards were printed for obvious reasons, and their whereabouts are currently unknown. But just so you know, if you have one of these, I am so jealous. But without further ado, we are here to announce the number 1 most bizarre Pokemon error card, and the honor goes to Cigar Roll Hitmonlee. Now you may be asking yourself, how in the world did this happen? There must be some super duper crazy story behind it, and I want to hear it. Well, I am sorry to burst your bubble. This is actually not cigar rolling paper after all. See, the logo on this really weird block of paper reads Crown Roll Leaf. And while to me that sounds totally like a cigar company, right? Upon further investigation, this is actually the company that produces the rolls of holofoil for the Pokemon cards. So what ended up happening in a little less exciting of a story is that a scrap piece of paper off of the end of one of these rolls accidentally fell on top of Hitmonlee. And the rustic appearance that shows up on this scrap paper is actually just the ink from the background of the Hitmonlee card. But this is the most bizarre error card that I have ever seen. Just because it was such a fluke, and there's no way that there's more than one of this card that exists. At least that we know of. Wizards of the Coast employees, I'm counting on you guys. Alright, well that is a wrap on today's top 10. You guys, I did make an article for this top 10 most bizarre Pokemon error card, so if you want to check it out, it's on our blog. I'll have the link in the description down below, but it just kind of goes into a little more detail on some of the stuff. And of course, it's in written form, so that's always fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, of course, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought of the video. Do you think I should have added some cards? Do you think certain certain ones should not have been on the list, definitely let me know down in the comment section below. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Bye!